welcome to NAPOD, where we provide NA speaker meetings and workshops in a podcast. We are an ad-free podcast, and if you enjoy listening, please help us to be self-supporting by visiting napod.xyz, look for the donate link, and drop $1 or $2 in the virtual basket. If you're also in AA or have friends that are, please tell them about our other podcast, Sobercast. Sobercast features AA speakers and workshops in the same format as NAPOD. We upload a new speaker every day, and it's easy to subscribe by searching for Sobercast, that's 2 words, on any podcast player app, or go to Sobercast.com. Enjoy the podcast, and thanks for listening.
Hi family, my name is Erin, I'm an addict. So as a member of the programming committee, we had the opportunity to listen to quite a few speaker tapes. So what we were looking for was a clear, honest message of recovery and living clean and, walking the walk, essentially, walking the talk, excuse me. So I unfortunately did not have the honor of listening to this speaker tape, but I was told by the other members of the committee that once they heard this tape, there was no question this was the main speaker. We were done, ready to go. So I'm really anxious to listen to the message that she's bringing tonight. She comes all the way from Baltimore to be with us tonight here. So let's introduce Denise, and there we go.
Is that good? I'm Denise. I'm an addict. Hi, everybody. And since I live in Baltimore, I do have a flashlight just in case the lights go out. I wanted to be prepared. Wow. I'm so honored to be asked to do this. You guys look great. I'm having a wonderful time. Before I get started, I'd like to thank the committee sincerely from the bottom of my heart for asking me to be the main speaker tonight. It's such an honor, and so thank you. I'd like to thank everyone who's put in the work to put this convention together, from the from the board and all the way down to the person who maybe is just sitting here tonight and didn't have money to pay for a registration. I'd just like to say thank you all. Narcotics Anonymous has saved my life. It's not only saved my life, but it's given me a life worth living. I'd like to just start out and tell you that I love conventions, so this is quite the experience for me. I probably went to my very first convention when I had a few months clean. We have a lot of conventions in my area, and just to give you an idea of who I was when I first got here, I remember going to that first convention, and I actually thought that the main speaker was famous. And he was of the opposite sex. And so I had very little self-esteem and really not a lot of goals. I mean, I was really toxic. And but I remember having this thought, I'm going to get me one of them. I'm going to get me the main speaker. It never even crossed my mind that I would speak. Never. It wasn't in my makeup. So, anyway, how do I get here? It's a long story. I've done a lot of reflecting. I'd like to say that I have not thought about this meeting at all since Bonnie called me, but that would be a lie. I think that I need to think about it. I think whatever I've gotten out of this experience, I've pretty much gotten because I've been able to reflect and think about my recovery. And what I've done is some soul searching, and I thought, given this opportunity, what would I like to share with you tonight? And before I left my room, I said a prayer, and I asked my higher power to please help me reflect how deeply grateful I am and how much I love the fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous. It is truly, once again, I can't say it enough, you people and the fellowship have saved my life. You know, they have a banner here and the logo for the convention. And I don't know if anybody's really paid a lot of attention to that, but it's a very powerful logo. And the logo was taken from the basic text, the fifth tradition. And I'm going to read where it was taken from. And it says, "What is our message? The message is that an addict, any addict, can stop using drugs, lose the desire to use, and find a new way to live. Our message is hope and the promise of freedom. When all is said and done, our primary purpose can only be to carry the message to the addict who still suffers, because that is all we have to give." Anybody here with 30 days or less, would you please stand up? Welcome to Narcotics Anonymous. You might not know this now, but you're saving our life. You're saving my life. Thank you for being here. Keep coming back. You know, the other thing that I did as I was thinking about what I would share about, and what came up for me is all the people that I've lost since I've been here. My clean date is April the 28th, 1987. So in a short month, I'm going to have 26 years clean. And so what I did was, I made a list of all my friends that have died. And I wanted to bring them here with me tonight. These are people that were dear friends. And I know that if you've been here for a while, you have a list. I'm not sure why we're here and they're not. I mean, I have some ideas, but I also know that this is a deadly, life-threatening disease. It's no joke. It wants your life, and if you're here tonight, please stay so that your name doesn't go on somebody's list. These people helped me to stay clean. So, anyway, when I got here, I heard people say things like, "You never have to use again." And honestly, I'm a middle-of-the-road addict. There are people whose stories are like way worse than mine, and there are people whose stories aren't as bad as mine. I feel like I'm just right in the middle of the road. Like I maybe could have used some more. Maybe. I don't know. Felt like that at the time when I got here. And so when I heard people say stuff like you never have to use again, I thought, why in the hell would you want to do that? Like I was here because the court sent me. You know, I got arrested because I was just having this little affair with my husband's brother. Healthy relationship there. I don't even know where my husband was, but we were living in mine and my husband's house. I was living with his brother. So I did have a little wreckage when I got here. But anyway, I got arrested because we were selling drugs out of our house, go figure. In the end, we were using all the drugs. We weren't selling so many drugs, but we were using a lot of drugs. But anyway, the Baltimore narcotics squad busted in my house, and they got me. They didn't really get the drug dealer. He was gone because we had had a fight, and he had rolled out early in the morning, thank God, because I might still be sitting in jail. And so anyway, I went to jail. I got out of jail. My parents, good enablers that they were, they got me a lawyer, and the lawyer took one look at me and he said, you need to get some therapy. I don't know, he didn't know about Narcotics Anonymous, but he knew this therapist who helped addicts. So he sent me there, and I'm forever grateful to this woman because she knew her limitations. I went to her office. I could still remember how I looked. I was really paranoid. And I went in there, and I wasn't giving up any information because I didn't trust anybody. I was really out there. But anyway, again, she knew her limitations, and what she did that day, I had no idea that day that it would make all the difference in the world in my life. And so after the session, she basically looked at me and she said, Denise, I can help you with your problems. I can write a letter for you when you go to court, but you're going to have to go to Narcotics Anonymous meetings. And she handed me the little Narcotics Anonymous meeting schedule for our area. And she reached over and she handed it to me and she said, and you need to go every day. And I was like, every day? You gotta be kidding me. Can't I go to church? But anyway, I didn't realize the miracle that had happened that day, and thank God for that woman. Thank God that she didn't try to fix me. She knew. She told me, Denise, I cannot get you clean. If you want to get clean, you need to go to Narcotics Anonymous. And so obviously I didn't want to go to jail, so I carted myself off to Narcotics Anonymous. And I got here, and I share this all the time. In the first couple meetings that I went to, I learned everything that I needed to know about how to stay clean. And don't laugh yet. But I really did. What I learned I learned what to do then, and it's what I need to do now. I need to not pick up no matter what. I need to pray. I need to have a home group. I need to have a sponsor. I need to work the steps. I need to be a sponsor. I need to help somebody. I need to give it away to keep it. I heard all those things in my very first Narcotics Anonymous meeting. So I went to a couple meetings. And then I decided I would go ahead and social using. I never social used. I like to talk about how I was going to social use and go to a place that only existed in my mind. Little kids don't drink and smoke cigarettes. That's not social using. So anyway, I went going to a couple meetings, and I went out to have a couple drinks with some friends. I was doing a just social drink. And Long story short, I ended up in the basement with this drug dealer guy, and he had the drugs, and he wanted something in return. And we were sitting there, and the bag of cocaine was on the table. I can remember it like it was yesterday. And Narcotics Anonymous, the 3 or 4 meetings that I had gone to, reached down and touched my soul. And I had a moment of clarity beyond my potential. The voice of Narcotics Anonymous said to me, Denise, if you do that drug, and you do what it takes to get that drug, you will never have anything. You will never be anything. This is as good as it gets for you. And I jumped out of that chair and I ran out of the door. And I got in my car. I did still have a car because my mother was a really good enabler, and she would come pay my car payment or whatever and put the stickers on the back of it and the whole 9 yards. And anyway, I drove home and I thought, man, this getting clean is really hard. 5 minutes. I made some phone calls. I tried to get some drugs. And, as a last-ditch effort, I called my ex-husband, who obviously really didn't want to give me any drugs. He said, call my brother. So I hung up the phone, I sat on my sofa, I took a drink of a beer, and I have not used from that day to this. Thank you, Narcotics Anonymous. And a lot has happened since then. A lot. Oh my God. I don't even know where to start. There's so many stories, and there's so many miracles, and there's so much, everything from greatness to drama to tragedy and all in between. So, I'd like to say that it was the message, obviously, that kept me coming back, but it was not the message itself. I ended up getting this job, and there was a noon meeting, like right down the street from this job, working for this accountant, and he was never in the office. And so I got to go to a noon meeting every day. And I'm going to tell you what, it was John in the noon meeting that kept me coming back. I went to that noon meeting, and John had on a white beater t-shirt, a pair of black biker shorts. He had a bicycle, not a motorcycle. He had a bicycle because he didn't have a driver's license. And he was sweating, probably because he was detoxing. And I thought he was hot. And once again, I said, I'm going to get me that. And I did. Me and John rode off on his bicycle into recovery. He's probably riding a bicycle right now. I have no idea where John is. John did stay clean for about 8 years, but he did relapse. But we hooked up and we went to dances, and I didn't have to do a whole lot of work and reach out a lot. And I had one girlfriend, and I hung out with her. And then, what happened is one night John and I were sitting on the edge of my bed, and John was a really good-looking guy, and we were sitting on the edge of the bed, and I said, you know what, John, if you could just shut up. I really said that. I was like, if you could just shut up, we could have a really good relationship. And so obviously it didn't work out. I had to get some skills. I thought it was him. I had defective hearing too. So anyway, somewhere around 9 months, I broke, that relationship. I laugh and kid about it, but it was really painful. And at the time, so I got a sponsor. And my sponsor had like 13 months more clean time than me. And she had all the bootleg step guides, because we only had the basic text and the white book and a little schedule, and we had some informational pamphlets. So I got a sponsor and I started working the steps and I started hanging out with women. And I didn't give up men. I said I was going to give them up, but I look back now and that wasn't true. There was always men in the picture for me. So I don't know about getting in relationships or getting out of relationships or what you should do. I know that my whole goal of recovery was to find my soulmate. I needed help. I thought I was going to come here and meet Prince Charming. Everything in my life, I lived in a fantasy. I think that was my first drug. And so when I got to Narcotics Anonymous, I thought I'm going to put down the drugs and I'm going to get the great job and I'm going to get the great Prince Charming and he's going to carry me off into, recovery heaven and he's going to pick me up on his white horse and then I find out he stole the horse and I got to bail him out of jail and I better get on work doing some step work. So the one thing, again, that I've always done, I've never left Narcotics Anonymous. I've always gone to meetings. Don't use no matter what. Go to meetings, and then go to some more meetings. Get a sponsor. Get a home group. Work the steps. Make a friend. Get a buddy to run around with who wants recovery too. Get phone numbers. I still do all those things today. I have all those aspects of recovery. I don't necessarily believe that any one aspect of recovery is more important than the other. You can write steps all day, and if you don't help people and you don't go to meetings, then you're not really working steps. That's how I feel. You can go to meetings, but at some point you need to pick pen to paper up and really take a look at yourself. I don't know, when I got here, Narcotics Anonymous is a program of complete abstinence. And when I got here, I heard that. I don't know about here, but in our area, the message is muddled these days. There's a lot of people on replacement therapy. You're welcome in Narcotics Anonymous. Please keep coming back. But Narcotics Anonymous is about being and getting and staying completely abstinent. And for whatever that is, whatever that means to you, you should discuss, any type of medication with other people, a sponsor, a network, a support group. And for me, I'm pretty rigid. There are a lot of things that I don't do that a lot of other people do. I'm clean. Yeah, you should clap for that. We talk about, what is sponsorship? I hear people say all kinds of things about, well, my sponsor's not this and doesn't, isn't a counselor, a therapist, a financial manager, any of that kind of stuff. And that is kind of true to a certain extent. But we have some long-term recovery around here, and we have a lot of information today. And when you work the steps, aren't you talking about relationships? Aren't you talking about your finances? If you've done an 8th and 9th step and you have, 10, 15 years clean and you haven't made amends, you might want to check that out. You might need a financial counselor. So what I'm saying is when my sponsor, I use my sponsor for whatever. You know, I might have a legal issue, and she might know something about it, or she might give me the name of a lawyer. So I take whatever is going on with me to my sponsor. It's like, it's my safe zone. I use my sponsor more today than I ever have. I don't run around making decisions on my own. That's what gets me in trouble every single time. You know, Alan has a brother. I better be working with my sponsor. Because I'm not that well. I have the ability to see myself honestly. Like, I need to stay on top of this physical, mental, and spiritual illness that I have. Because maybe I won't use a drug, but I'll use something. You know, and if you're new, it's about not using drugs. But if you've been here a while, it's about not using a whole lot of other stuff. And where does that line cross? I don't know. I don't know where it becomes dangerous to use other things. I know I've woken up in Narcotics Anonymous with addictions that I'd like, where did this come from? You know what? I've been to treatment twice in recovery for an eating disorder. I had to get help. Like, I couldn't stop binging and purging. I could not, in recovery, even after working steps and helping people and having sponsees and going to meetings. Like, I had issues come up that needed to be addressed. So I don't know what your issue is. That was a big one for me, and I got the help that I needed. And I've been in recovery from that for like over 15 years. You know, it's a miracle for me to eat my dinner and not have to go throw it up. Narcotics Anonymous has afforded me the opportunity to heal. You know, I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. I take care of myself the best that I can. I have to do a lot of work just to stay sane. This head up here just goes and goes and goes and goes. Like, I listen to a lot of speakers. I'd like to thank all the speakers that have also shared here. I heard some really good messages, but I start getting confused. Like, it was really hard not to take on all that information. Like, I had to keep, like, brushing myself off because I'm like, oh, they sound really good. That sounds good. Let me try that. I never heard that before. And I've actually, you know, I've been here a long time, and I actually, like, listen. I heard some things this weekend that I've never heard before. And that means that I'm still, like, present. I'm still willing to be taught. I'm still willing to work this program like my life depends on it. Because it still does. I haven't gotten someplace down the road. Like, my disease doesn't care that I have a daughter. It doesn't care that, you know, I wanted to go to college. Doesn't care that I want to make money. It actually loves all that stuff because it deters me from my recovery. It's a cracked window for the disease to come in. And so, the more things that I get, the more meetings I need. It's been a wonderful journey. You know, I didn't meet somebody right away, so I went from relationship to relationship for a while in my recovery. And I was with a man, and we were together for a while. It was like we were married. And he molested the daughter of a guy in the program. And then he had an affair with a newcomer, a woman that I was taking to meetings. You know, what we do around here really affects people. But I was staying clean no matter what. That was a very painful, that kind of stuff is really painful. And not only that, affairs, especially affairs in the rooms, can cause a whole sponsorship family to break down. For example, all my support group knew I was not only betrayed by him, and I understand now that they were put between a rock and a hard place, but we just need to really, I don't know what you need to do. I need to keep my side of the street clean. That's basically what I need to do. All I can do is just share my story and what happened to me. And to be honest with you, all the people involved in that situation, I'm going to say all of them used. I picked my sorry butt up and went to a meeting on the other side of town. And I got through that. And somewhere in there was when I went to treatment and I came out and I changed my life. I hated my job. I didn't like my job, and I changed that. And I made some really good decisions, and things got really good for me. And I had a couple different another few short relationships. And then, I was helping some newcomer women, 4 newcomers, and we went out to dinner. We went to a meeting, we went to dinner, and then with 15 years clean, they all wanted to go to the NA dance, and I didn't want to go. I wanted to go home. And they took group conscience, and I lost. And so we went to the NA dance. And that's where I met my husband, Alan, that night. And we've been together ever since. And things got really, really good for us. The economy was booming back then. We made some good financial decisions, and we bought a lot of stuff. And we did some things, and the economy shifted, and the last couple of years have been a little rough. And again, it's right back to the basics. It doesn't matter whether I'm on a plane going to Spain or I'm going to my local meeting. I'm staying clean. It doesn't matter what my bank account says. I like it better when it's more. And every time, I heard the guy this afternoon, I think it was John from Florida, he shared about praying for the lottery. I pray for the lottery too. And every damn time I pray to win the lottery, I get a new sponsee. So I think you all should pray to win the lottery too. I'm not making that up either. I actually prayed for money once, and I got in a roller coaster accident, and they sent me a check for the exact amount of money that I prayed for. So watch what you pray for. And when you pray for it, be really specific. I'm like, please let me win the lottery, not a sponsee. And I still get a sponsee. And what I know is that there's no greater thing around here than helping somebody. Even if you just have a day clean, pick up a piece of trash on the way out, throw it in the trash can. Recovery for me, it says in our basic text that if the solution is not practical, it is not spiritual. And my program is so practical. I'm going to tell you how practical it is. My job in recovery is to change the toilet paper roll. Because if you can't change an empty toilet paper roll, how are you going to stay clean? So next time you see an empty roll of toilet paper, I encourage you to please change it. Because when I got here, I left my trash for everybody else. I used yours and didn't leave you anything. And you know what? It might sound really simple, but it's really nice when you go in the bathroom and there's a roll of toilet paper. And it's for me. It reminds me of who I am, and that I need to be given it back in the simplest of ways, because I may have a grand story up here, but if I can't change a frickin' toilet paper roll, there's something wrong. You know, if I can't pick up after myself. You know, I went to the swimming pool in the hotel, and I'm sure it was no one in Narcotics Anonymous, but I'm going to tell you what, there were pool towels everywhere. They have a bin for that. People literally dropped a towel on the floor, and all they had to do was reach and put it in the bin. That is how practical my program is. Like, I take responsibility for me and the space around me. And I try to be aware that there are people in the world besides me. I try not to run over people as much as I used to. I try to practice the principles in my life. You know, the God of my understanding, I was raised Catholic, so I have a lot of confusion. I don't practice a religion today. The God of my understanding is good, orderly direction. It's Narcotics Anonymous. It's the steps. It's the principles of this program, and it's you people. And that's kept me clean and in recovery a really long time. So if you don't have a God, like, I was afraid. People would say, you gotta have a God. Well, I don't know, maybe that's true. I'm not sure, but I just shared with you my experience. I've tried and ventured a lot of different places, and I've done a lot of different things. You know, I stay clean in Narcotics Anonymous, but I will try anything to feel better. I've done some crazy shit. I'll stand on my head. I don't know. I'll dance and sing. I'll do music therapy, art therapy, whatever. I'll do whatever I think I need to do to feel better. This disease will have me use stuff that makes me feel better, and I'll keep using it and using it and using it and using it and using it until it makes me feel like crap. I don't know if anybody can relate to that or not. One is too many and 1,000 never enough. I can't even eat sunflower seeds. Lifesavers. I had to quit. Like, my teeth were falling out. Like, eat the whole pack. I'll be like, I'm going to get a pack of Lifesavers and I'm just going to eat one, especially if you quit smoking. Eat one Lifesaver, you might as well just get 5 packs. It's terrible. And if you get the sugar-free kind, you know what happens from that stuff. Look, you're laughing because some of you have done it. You're going to need the toilet paper. That's some nasty stuff. That will tear your stomach up. You'll think, okay, well, I'm not going to eat the sugar. I'm going to eat the sugar-free kind. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, one day you're going to be eating that bag of sugar-free crap, and you're going to get it. You're going to be like, that's what that bitch was talking about. Anyway. You know, how do the steps work in my life? I can use them at any time. Like, I'm powerless and my life is unmanageable. So I'm doing something and I'm acting crazy. If you're doing drugs, whatever it is, like if you're here, then you're probably powerless over drugs, because why else would you be here? You know, in the second step, you can make a decision to either do drugs or don't do drugs, and that's how I'm restored to sanity. Sanity is staying clean. Insanity is using for me. The third step, I turn my will and my life over to the care of God, and for me that means I'm going to work 4 through 12. In the fourth step, I'm going to acknowledge that I'm working my third step, and I'm going to do an inventory. I'm going to look at my resentments, because resentments around here get us high. It's really important not to minimize writing on resentments. So I do an inventory, and then I share it with God and myself, and then I need to throw in that other person just to make sure I'm being honest. And then after you do all that, you wake up and realize, like, holy crap, I'm a defect. That's my favorite step, 6 and 7. The first time I was on step 6 and 7, it was horrible. It was a nightmare, and I'm going to tell you why, because I realized that everybody else knew but me. It was very painful. I had somebody tell me once, they said, you know what, Denise, because I'm a know-it-all. And they said to me, Denise, if you know everything, why do you think you have problems in relationships, especially with men? Because if you know everything, that means the only kind of people that will be with you are wrong people. Yeah, so if you're struggling in your relationship, you might want to check that out. But it gave me some clarity. Like, you know, so I started to change. And for me, when I did the 6 and 7 step, we used to have this handout, and it said that you had to stay on it for a whole year. I don't do that to people. That's too painful. You know, I think my sponsor was on step 8, and she needed to slow me down. Because that's where we were back then. Our recovery was really close together. So anyway, I believe that after I write step 6 and 7, I think it's really beneficial to look at all those defects of character. I think it's really beneficial to study them, to understand them, to write about them. But I believe that my defects of character are removed in step 8 through 12. I can be writing about my defects all day long, but if I'm not looking at who I harmed, making amends, taking inventory, praying and meditating for the knowledge of God's will only, and carrying this message and practicing these spiritual principles in all my affairs, that is where my defects of character are removed. The 11th step has been the hardest step for me. Because again, I like to pray. I want to keep talking. I want to keep telling God what to do. Which means, really, if you guys are my God, then I want to keep telling you what to do. And I want to keep telling the plan, you know, that the plan is wrong and that my way is better. And so a lot of times when I'm stuck in that 11th step, I need to kind of admit my wrongs. And that's where I am in my recovery today. I'm really working on maybe not praying as much, but listening a little bit more, trying to get quiet, meditating. And it's very challenging. You know, there's a lot of people in this meeting tonight, but there was probably 6 people in the meditation this morning. So I encourage you all to come out and meditate tomorrow morning. You know, you have the opportunity, if you've never meditated with a group, to try it out, to see how it feels. And, and in the end, every time I do meditate, the final result of that is that I need to work the 12th step. I need to carry this message. I need to practice these principles in all my affairs. And that, I'm like, that's it. But it's, I'm so grateful to be able to do that. It's so wonderful to help save a life. I owe that back to Narcotics Anonymous. When I go home from here, I'll go to a meeting, call my sponsor, go to my home group, talk to my sponsees. I like hanging out with my sponsees. I like learning about who they are. I think that's where we really learn about each other is sitting at the table. The banquet dinner, we kind of talked about that. Like, okay, it was $40 and maybe the meal wasn't the greatest, but you know what? It's not. It's about conversation with others. It's about building a network. It's about learning how to socialize, be part of. I'm so grateful that you guys asked me to come. I need to remind everybody that after this is the clean time countdown, so please stay and participate. And then I'm going to end with this. It's in the 12th step. It's in the 12th step in It Works How and Why, and it says that even in silence, the voice of our gratitude does not go unheard. It speaks more clearly as we walk the path of recovery, selflessly giving to those we meet along the way. We venture forth on our spiritual journey, our lives enriched, our spirits awakened, and our horizons ever expanding. The quintessential spirit that lies inside each one of us, the spark of life that was almost extinguished by our disease, has been renewed through working the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous. It is on the path paved with these steps that our future journey begins. Thank you so much for having me. You guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I'm Denise, and I'll keep coming back.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Please help us improve our ranking so others can find us by putting a review on Stitcher, iTunes, or your favorite podcast index. NAPOD is ad-free thanks to the folks supporting the show with $1 or more per month. If you enjoy listening, you can join them by going to napod.xyz and looking for the donate link. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.